A U.S. official told CBS News the Coast Guard was pursuing another sanctioned oil tanker in international waters. If caught and seized, it would be the third Venezuelan tanker taken by the U.S. this month. This after seizing what the White House calls a second sanctioned vessel early Saturday. Now, just last week, the president announced a full blockade of sanctioned vessels traveling in and out of the country. But in a new CBS News poll, 73% of people say the president has not clearly explained the use of possible military action against Venezuela. We've seen different reaction from the Republican Party.
I consider it a provocation and a prelude to war, and I hope we don't go to war with Venezuela. It isn't the job of the American soldier to be the policeman of the world.
I applaud President Trump of trying to bring down this narco-terrorist state in Venezuela run by Maduro.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now from Washington. So, Olivia, can you explain for us what we know about the newest tanker seizures?
Mugo, it's good to see you. In short, we don't know too much. The timeline suggests that President Trump announced this new blockade on sanctioned oil vessels late last week. After that, we have seen a ramping up of interdicting of these vessels done by the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. military. You mentioned on Saturday there was a second ship that was seized by the U.S. military and the U.S. Coast Guard that they say was operating against this blockade and transporting sanctioned Venezuelan oil. It appears there was a second ship on Saturday that they also tried to seize, that they were unable to do so, and since then have been in pursuit of. In a statement to CBS News, an administration official said the U.S. Coast Guard is in active pursuit of a sanctioned dark fleet vessel that is part of Venezuela's illegal sanctions evasion. They say that this ship is flying under a false flag and is under a judicial seizure order. We do not have word, though, yet if this particular vessel has been seized. Now, to go back a little bit, though, there is still the Skipper. That was the original vessel that was seized by the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. military about a week and a half ago now, that is making its way to Texas. We know that the U.S. officials are doing a full investigation of that ship, of who's on board, and plans to seize the oil that was taken through that ship. So quite notable there, and we know that these two other vessels that they're in pursuit of, they say also are part of this shadow fleet that is transporting Venezuelan oil and oil from other countries to and from Venezuela. So quite notable there, given that the entire premise of the attacks so far on alleged Venezuelan drug boats have been about dealing with so-called narco-terrorists. Well, now it appears that the U.S. government is very willing to engage in an oil blockade and seizing this so-called sanctioned Venezuelan oil in boats off of the coast and near the water. So certainly amounts to provocation, to an escalation, and we'll have to see just where this goes and how many more other ships the U.S. is willing to seize.
Yeah, still a lot of questions, by the way, about the end goal of all this. Olivia, I want to ask you about what is happening today, because we're expecting the president to make an announcement in South Florida. Do we have any insight on what it's going to be about?
Yeah, actually, just a short while ago, a White House official did tell CBS News that this is going to be a shipbuilding announcement. So the president last week, before departing for West Palm Beach, where he's expected to spend the Christmas holiday, signed the National Defense Authorization Act. It's an act that gets signed pretty much every year for the military to continue operating as it is. This is expected to be a shipbuilding announcement, though. We know the president, although he says he rebuilt the military in his first term, has continued to want to ramp up the military budget, the Pentagon's budget. So we do know that this is going to be about shipbuilding, and it comes at a really interesting time because the U.S. Navy is expected to retire about 13 ships of the naval fleet, and that means it's going to reach a new record low of about only 280 or so ships that are active in the U.S. Navy, and it won't be until 2027 that there will be more ships that are available to deploy, new ships that are available to deploy for the U.S. Navy. So it's coming at a really critical time where they are trying to ramp up the Navy's ability, especially as we're seeing a lot of buildup in Latin America. Certainly a timely announcement, certainly will be very interesting that the president decided today, while he's on what would presumably be Christmas holiday, to be making this type of announcement. We also know that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and the Secretary of the Navy are expected to be there as well.
Okay, Olivia Rinaldi in Washington, D.C. for us today. Thank you so much.